Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Singapore Central Bank, the MAS, has unveiled a number of prerogatives as part of efforts to establish the city-state as the foremost fintech hub in the region. Dan is there at the Fintech Festival, somebody who might be able to give the Lion City a tip or two. Boy, Dan, we could use some secret insider baseball knowledge here.
Yeah, that's right, Bernie. And safe to say that Singapore and Switzerland have very close ties, but there is a lot to be learned from both of these countries in the fintech space. And that's why we are bringing in our next guest. Pleased to say that joining us first on CNBC is Jorg Gasser. He's the State Secretary for International Financial Matters in Switzerland. And he joins me now. Jorg, thank you and welcome to CNBC.
Pleasure.
First of all, what can Switzerland learn from Asia's fintech scene?
Well, both countries have many similarities in common. We are both neighbors of very important economic jurisdictions like China and Europe for Switzerland. We are extremely open, very well connected. We have top-notch educational system, infrastructure is very good. So we have many similarities, and it doesn't come to any surprise that both jurisdictions are very interested in having their fintech economic system or fintech ecosystem to flourish. So that's why I'm here, and I believe what we can learn from the situation here is the dynamics. The situation changes rapidly here in the region. Fintech is blooming, is flourishing, and this is something that we want to observe and if possible, profit.
And the Swiss government moved recently to ease the regulatory requirements for fintech earlier this year. Tell me about some of the efforts that you're making right now to create an environment in Switzerland that encourages and fosters innovation.
That was exactly our idea. We thought about how to increase the possibility for the fintech ecosystem to start to flourish in Switzerland. And for that purpose, we have established a sandbox where we try to remove barriers to entry into the market. So our regulation should remove any barriers, and for that purpose we have installed a sandbox that allows small fintech firms to flourish without any regulation whatsoever. Until to a certain degree, they are able to accept 1 million Swiss franc from their clients without any regulatory system. And then once they grow out of that sandbox, the regulation will be according to their size. So we will try to introduce and will introduce a regulatory system that enables the market to grow without being hindered from unnecessary regulatory frameworks.
And what about the decision to introduce a fintech license? Is this also something that Asia could learn from?
Well, hopefully, yes. We believe that a fintech license is a tool that allows the fintech to grow according to its needs. That the license will be provided, and the framework will enable the fintech firm to have a regulation that is tailor-made for their own needs. And the fintech license is much lighter than a banking license. In Switzerland, every bank needs a license, and this fintech license is easier to handle and is less expensive for the fintech firm to establish.
It has been said that Switzerland's tight foreign labour laws compared to the global competition could halt some of your fintech ambitions before they begin. Do you think the government needs to do more in that area to enable innovation and foster growth in fintech?
That's not the only subject that we need to tackle. Indeed, it is important for small open economies that they have the possibility to bring in their labour force, the qualified labour force they need. We try to become better on that, but there are many other issues that are important. As I said at the very beginning, the framework is important with regard to taxing, with regard to education, with regard to infrastructure. These are also issues that count, and there I think we are very well positioned.
I wanted to ask you about another matter as well. Politicians, business directors and companies in Switzerland all connected recently to these so-called Paradise Papers. It was a massive leak of offshore investment documents. Tell me, did that impact the confidence that investors might have when it comes to investing in Switzerland, and what are the wider implications of that?
No, it didn't impact any decision-making process whatsoever for the time being. If there is suspicion that Swiss law has been violated, then the competent authorities will look into that. But for the time being, Switzerland is not in the focus. We have very strong anti-money laundering laws. We established the automatic exchange of information. We are up to standard with regard to base erosion and profit shifting. We introduced the minimal standards. So from that point of view, we are well positioned, and I believe if there is any break to Swiss law, then that will be properly followed up.
One thing that our viewers also want to know is that last time you were on CNBC, you said the Swiss franc was grossly overvalued. Do you still hold that view?
Well, economic growth luckily took up, so the whole economic global system is becoming better and better. So the pressure on the Swiss franc has also decreased a little bit, but it's far too early already to start moving up with interest rates. For the time being, the pressure on the Swiss franc still exists, but it's not that stiff as it was a few months ago.
Jorg, unfortunately we're out of time. We'll leave it there, but thanks for joining us on CNBC. That's Jorg Gasser, the State Secretary for International Financial Matters in Switzerland. Bernie, it's back over to you.
Venezuela is now officially in default. Standard & Poor's says it missed a deadline to pay $200 million in interest payments on its government bonds. Caracas already overdue on another $420 million of interest payments, with the grace period set to expire very soon, meaning it'll also likely default on those as well. President Maduro announced a couple weeks ago he needed to refinance and restructure the nation's debts, totaling as much as $150 billion. Speaking at a conference called ADIPEC 2017, the Abu Dhabi Petroleum Exhibition Conference, Baker Hughes CEO Lorenzo Simonelli gave us his thoughts on the situation in the country. But first, Weatherford CEO Mark Cullum with these thoughts.
Venezuela is truly an enigma, I think, for us in the service industry, right? Most of the service industry has been there for 75, 80 years. It's got, the largest reserve base out there in the world, right? And so to ignore it, to walk away from that as a service industry, I think we do so at our peril, because I think all the context of the discussion earlier, right? If we have a looming supply problem that, based on underinvestment, Venezuela is a significant part of the solution to the ultimate problem. The unfortunate thing is, and particularly in this low price environment, we've got to get paid, right? Cash flow and returns are important to us. And so, to continue to work and to do things when we don't get paid, get the returns, is very, very challenging. I think also, of course, the recent sanctions that have been put on the country are making it very difficult. I mean, we're kind of the guys in the middle, and we're the ones being sort of being squeezed to put the squeeze on them.
We have to deal with geopolitics. We have to deal with disruption. We have to do what's best for all of our shareholders and make sure that we uphold safety of our employees and also government regulations in the countries in which we operate. At the same time, you've got to have a long-term view. So I think it's very dangerous to have principles whereby there's an edict of, I'm going to do this and it's 100% a swift change. We've got to navigate, be nimble, and that's what we're trying to do in Venezuela. It's a difficult situation. We've got to operate within the sanctions. At the same time, there's a lot of resource and there's an employee base there. So we're finding structures that are effective in a way that allow us to continue to operate.